joining me shortly about what we have planned today. It's going to be a great show. In fact, the topic that we chose may end up taking two shows, I'm not sure. But we thought we'd do something a little bit different. So many of you folks have talked to our employees over the last number of years and really can't put a face to the voice. Well, this week we're going to introduce uh, Dan Suey, and then the following show we'll be introducing another employee. So, Dan, how you doing?
Good.
Nervous, huh?
A little bit.
Okay. Dan's been with us a couple of years. Going to tell us a little bit about himself. Local guy, lives in Rochester. For those of you who don't know, Rochester is about 15 to 20 minutes from the store. And Dan is famous for riding antique bikes. Is that a good? Okay.
A moped.
Moped. Okay. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Beaver County, born and raised. I have a 7-year-old son named Braden.
Okay, we're back. We had a little bit of technical difficulty. I think, Dan, you are right at where you have a 7-year-old son, and his name is?
Braden Hoko. And that's my pride and joy.
Should be. I've met him.
My only son, just one child.
You still trying?
Oh, maybe in the future.
Don't mind me. Tell us what you do here.
So I'm Beaver County, born and raised. I've stumbled upon this great little pigeon place here, and I'm a part of their team. I do general warehouse maintenance and productions, and I really enjoy it. It's quite a good job for my area.
And you stay busy?
Very busy.
And I know you sweep the floor because I make a mess, especially with my pigeons. Okay. Well, anything else you want to say about yourself?
No.
All right, well, then get the hell out of here.
All right.
Would you tell Gina we're waiting for her?
Yes, I will.
See how professional we are? Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jerry.
As Dan said, he's been with us coming on 10 years, 2 years, I'm sorry. Great employee. He won't brag about himself, but there isn't anything he won't do. If you ask him, he'll do it. Waiting for Gina. Don't know what her problem is. Maybe talk about a few things before she gets here. Have you any idea where she is, Veronica? No. Veronica, you want to sit in with us? You can sit right here. Oh, no, I know. You have to run the show. Most of you know that I've mentioned it before, turned 80 in the last month or so. But wanted to tell you, I, for the first time in decades upon decades, here comes Gina, I have had pigeons as of about 2 months ago. I decided I would not be able to keep pigeons at my home. I have no lofts at the house, but I'm so fortunate I have a number of friends. I gave them my loft, I gave them my pigeons, and they're raising the birds for me. I'm not going to say anything, Gina, but you know how difficult it is for me to come up with things to talk about, and I didn't know what to do.
I'm sure you figured it out.
On the phone.
No, I was trying to finish.
Oh,
I'm flustered.
okay. Well, if you started earlier, you wouldn't
Okay.
have this problem.
You was late.
No, I wasn't.
You was late. I was on the phone calling the house at 1 o'clock for you.
Oh, 1 o'clock?
1.
You
You were
mean
supposed to
you
be
mean
here at
3?
1. No,
Oh,
you.
okay. All right, I'm sorry.
Hi guys.
Real professional people, aren't we?
Okay.
How long's it been
I
since
didn't
we
even have
did a show?
since we did one a month.
A month. Okay.
Sorry,
Well,
Ron.
you do your thing, and I'll just sit here and listen.
Okay. Welcome to Foy's on Facebook. I'm Gina.
I'm Jerry.
Thank you for tuning in with us. As you know, well, some of you didn't know, but we had announced 2 shows ago that we were going to start doing the Facebook Lives once a month. A lot of customers don't like that, so we decided today
Yes,
that
we
we're going to
did.
go back to twice a month. So, with that being said, well, before I get into today's show, can
Oh
you
yeah,
hand me
put it on.
those?
I will tell the folks that we spent more time preparing for this show, I think, than we ever did
Ever.
before.
Yeah.
Right?
Can you hear me those?
Okay.
Okay. So, I forgot to tell you what pictures of these. Can you see this? Okay. So, for those of you guys that do order online, we have some promotional items that if you order a certain amount of money before shipping, that you get a free item. This is one of the items. This is a cup. I believe it's if you order $100, you get the cup. And then if you order $200 or more, then you get the hat. I know a lot of customers before asked us about hats, and we do have them now. So if you order $200 or more, order online, then you get the free products, but you have to order it online. You can't call on the phone and order it. It doesn't apply for phone orders. Also, we have another product. It's the backpack, and it's going to go into the kids kit. I forgot what it was called. So the junior kit. So instead of the
Don't ask me.
pigeon sign, it's going to be the backpack now. So if you order one of the junior kits, it's not going to be the backpack, not the pigeon sign. And if the picture's not updated yet online, it will be shortly.
You know, we don't talk a lot about the junior kit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a lot of people aren't aware of it, but if you look on a site or in our catalog, we have a kit we put together for kids. And it's discounted considerably to make it more affordable. So if you're interested in that kit, maybe got a neighbor or kids that might be interested or your own, we have that kit.
And with that kit, they also get a free
Subscription.
membership to the NPA.
Yeah, we pay your first year's dues.
Mm-hmm. And the child has to be 18 and younger,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yes. So if you have any questions on that, you can give us a call. Oh, also, what we have new on our website is we have the chat. So if you have any questions about products or anything, any questions, you can go on that chat on our website and somebody will answer you back right away.
I can't though.
No, you can't.
Okay.
But we do have that option. Now, sometimes we may tell you to call us if it's going to be, if we have a lot of questions for you, we'll ask you to call us and we'll talk to you about it on the phone. Okay?
Okay.
So with us going back to a show every 2 weeks, if you have any suggestions, anything you want us to talk about on the show, just give myself or Jerry a call, send us an email. We'll be more than happy to do a show on something you suggest or a product you want to know about. Anything that you'd like to see, just let us know.
Getting to be a professional. Don't stutter or nothing.
Okay.
Are we done? Did you tell them what we're going to talk about, or you haven't got to that part yet?
I'm getting there now.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so today's show is about pigeon lofts. Like Jerry said, we took a long time preparing for this. But if you have any questions during the show, whether it's on Pigeon Lofts or anything else, feel free to just ask us and we'll go ahead and stop and answer your questions.
Not unusual for customers to call me about basic, simple questions about a loft. Some have built it and made mistakes. Some have built it and bought some books and did the right thing. A pigeon loft in a lot of cases, can be expensive if you're going to build a new one, or in a lot of cases, people have sheds, barns, outbuildings, that kind of thing, and make into a pigeon loft. And we'll be talking about a couple of books, but it just, to me, it makes so much sense to do some research before you build or before you remodel. That research can be just a simple call to Gina or myself, or we have some books. One fairly inexpensive, been around for a long time, and one $65. Was that? Did you check on that?
Mhm.
Yeah, one book costs $65, and we'll be talking about the book itself. So I think we're going to cover a lot of territory, but maybe we should answer some questions first, or just get on.
Yeah, so when you call, you don't necessarily have to talk to me or Jerry. You can talk to the other people too. They can answer questions.
Basics, yeah.
Thanks. Just
Are
wanted
you
to put
saying
that
you'd
out there.
rather they called somebody else?
No, I'm just saying, like, if I don't answer, or you don't necessarily have to ask for me or you.
No, you're just being, you know, you don't want to have our other employees feel bad because
Right.
everybody's asking for you. Is that what it was?
We'll go with that.
Okay. Hi,
Okay.
Randy.
Did you do this question yet?
Nope.
Okay. Hi, Randy. Randy's question is about mites. I got some pigeons recently from someone and they had mites. I treated them, but curious as to what is the best way to get rid of them and keep them gone. Can they get on humans or cause health issues to humans?
Generally speaking, no, they can't create problems other than any more than a mosquito can cause a problem, I suppose, or a fly or anything like that. But generally speaking, no, not an issue at all. I've had birds for nigh on 70 years, never had an issue. There are people who have allergy problems, so I suppose that could be an issue too. But if you've had pigeons for a good while, allergy would have shown up by now. But in answer to how to get rid of the mite, let's first be sure that a mite is different than a flea or different than a louse. A mite is always a blood-sucking pest. So that being known, most of the sprays will work, but if you really want to do what is best, there's a product called Permectin 2. It's a concentrate that you add to a bucket of warm water. The directions are there. I think it's 1 ounce to 5 gallons or something like that, but the directions are on the product. And what you do with it is, and I might mention, don't do this on a real hot day. If you get close to 85 or 90, don't do it. You've got to wait for a cooler day to do that. So what you do is you create your solution in a 5-gallon bucket. You take your birds and you're going to dip the birds in that water. I recommend that you wear rubber gloves just as a protection for yourself. I never have, but I caution you that you might want to do that. While the birds, you're going to dunk them all the way up to their neck, just below the beak. And the bird's going to be wet. While the bird is in the water, you're going to open up one wing so that all the moisture gets up underneath. And then you're going to open up the other wing so that it gets underneath. Then you're also going to spread the tail. So what that does is ensures that the bird is completely covered. When it comes out, the feathers are going to be separated. Looks like a wet rat, or I don't know how else to describe it, but the feathers are all going to be spread out and soaking wet. Within a half an hour, the bird is completely dry. Everything on that bird is going to be dead. So what's the best? Permectin 2. You were writing while I'm talking?
I am.
Were you listening?
I was listening, and
Okay.
because I thought of something.
Okay.
Okay. Well, hi, David. David says, "Hi, Jerry. How often should you treat chicken hens for cocci and canker?"
Chicken hens. Well, coccidiosis is probably the most common effect on problem with pigeons. So, how do you get rid of them? Regular treatment. Um, and if you have coccidiosis, generally speaking, some of the symptoms are going to be loose dropping, a lot of time on the yellowish side. So, in treating them, um, it's good to do it on a regular basis if you have a problem. If you have a serious problem with coccidiosis, you're going to know birds are going to be they're going to lose weight, but all pigeons that get sick lose weight. Local vet, if you take some stool samples to the vet, they can look and they'll find the coccidiosis. But it's so common. I would suggest you do it on a regular basis, maybe once a month. And also, there's a lot of different products for cocci. So my suggestion would be to at least pick two of them and rotate them so that your birds don't develop a resistance to using the same drug. Now, uh, when you talk about, I'm sorry, would you go back to that, Veronica?
Canker.
When you were talking about canker, canker is completely different than coccidiosis. Coccidiosis is a bug. Um, Canker is a protozoa, similar things, but treatments are completely different. I'm not going to go through all of the symptoms that you might have from canker, but the most common one is the yellow cheesy stuff deeper in the throat, not around the beak, but deeper in the throat. It's a fairly common disease, but it's very rare that an adult bird gets canker. It's almost always in the young ones, although it's the parents that give it to the young ones. The parents, being older, have an easy time fighting it off. The babies, they've never been exposed to it. In the nest is usually where they get canker. Hope that uh, helps, but um, same for chickens, yes. The treatments and the products are the same for coccidiosis in chickens. Hey, Dave, I know you're a regular listener, what do you call it, viewer. Thanks. Hi, Felix.
Hi, Felix. Are you going to get any more of the Spanish feeders with the dividers? They're in. They're in.
They're in? How do you know, Veronica?
Not sure which ones you're talking about, but Kim said they're in.
Oh, we have them, Felix. Ask and you shall receive. Thanks very much. And once again, if you have a question, now is the time. Send
Now
it in.
I know which one, yes.
Oh, okay.
Just sent me.
Okay.
Yep.
30,
They're in.
go ahead.
And they're on the website.
And the item number is?
3394.
All right, let's move right along. If you've got a question, send it in. We'll stop and talk and answer your question. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so on with Loft. So we're going to start on the roof.
Yeah.
I asked Jerry to start with the floor. He said he likes to be different. So he's going to start with the roof.
So we're starting at the top and not
Top
at the
and
bottom.
going down.
I never, everybody starts at the bottom and moves their way up. I've been on top of everything for so long. I'm also full of the well-known excrement.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to talk about the roof.
And I just want you to know I didn't have time to do my hair for the show either. So
beautiful. My goodness. It's just all natural beauty. Just all natural beauty. And she, if you've only seen her sitting, you made it hard to believe. She weighs 115 pounds. A thin lady. No?
yeah.
Okay.
30 years ago.
Let's talk about roofs.
Okay, roofs.
Now, when you talk about a roof, and you can kind of use, step in wherever you want, because we sat down and talked about it. When you talk about a roof, we're working from the top down. I'd like to talk about a couple of things that should be on the outside in the roof. First one is not a necessity, but is fairly popular, and that's a skylight. we'll be talking as we go of the importance of light for a pigeon. So if you have the opportunity or the money, it's a good idea to put one skylight in every section of your roof. Not the skylights that necessarily open to let air in, but just the skylight to allow light in.
What?
I'm not going to do the whole damn show by
Yes, you
myself.
are.
What's next?
Ventilation.
Ventilation. In all of the writings, books, and articles that I've written, and the information I've got from veterinarians, there's nothing more important. There are very few things more important than allowing ventilation for your loft. And when we say ventilations, we mean you can go to Home Depot, Lowe's, or your local hardware store. And they sell these roof vents, which are turbines. They're not electric, but the wind, and doesn't take much, one spins them around. And what they're doing is sucking the old, dirty air, so to speak, out of the loft. And I put them in every loft I ever had. Now, if you're going to put the turbines in, and if you've already built your loft, you can still do it. It's not that hard. So we've got the turbines in, but let's talk about what make a turbine work even better. Do you have any idea, Gina?
Well, can I say something else
Yes,
first?
you may.
So if you build your loft and you have several sections, you want one for each section, correct?
Veronica, didn't I say that?
No.
Oh,
you said your loft.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I may have spaced out on that. I tend to do that when he talks sometimes. He's long-winded, but if he didn't say it, I said it.
Also, I had a cold beer before the show.
Oh,
Anyways, when you put in turbines, if you've got a loft that's already built or you're building a new loft, there's something else that you can do that a lot of people don't do or are not aware that they should do. Let's say you're picturing the loft from the outside and looking out the outside walls. From the floor of your loft, about 5 or 6 inches up, you're going to cut a strip so that you'll have a hole in your loft, maybe on 2 sides and the rear of the loft. And then you're going to cover that with screen or wire, something that's substantial. I wouldn't advise chicken coop wire, but something that's fairly stiff. You can buy it in any hardware store, and you cover that. What you've done is what you want to do, and is so important, is create airflow. You don't want stale air, you want airflow. So the air comes in from the bottom where you've cut your strip, and then the turbines up above are spinning and they're sucking that old air out. So you're always creating an airflow. So if you never thought about it, that's something you really should give some thought to. Now, we talked about ventilation. Talk about something else, and that's gutters. People don't think much about it. A lot of people don't have gutters, but if you have gutters on your pigeon coop, be aware that they need to be cleaned on a regular basis. The reason for that is if you have trees around, a lot of time your downspouts get clogged or your gutters get clogged and hold these leaves, and they start to break down, and the water can be very easily polluted. I had an instance where a fellow called me a long time ago, and he was having a problem, and it was diagnosed as giardia. And the giardia, which is hard to say, it's like a poison. An animal had died in the gutter, and because it was clogged, the water wasn't flowing, so you had standing water and a dead animal, and that infected that water. And if you have flying pigeons, the pigeons, when they land on the roof, many times will walk down to drink out of the gutter, and you have a problem. So give some thought if you have gutters, and especially if you have trees, clean those gutters out periodically. Hi, Tom. Should we go to Tom, or am I doing your job, or are you doing my job?
We'll go to Tom. Do you have an opinion about UV sterilization lights in the loft? Is this something you're familiar with?
It is not. It's something I have heard. And ultraviolet rays, I think, serve, and Tom, you might be able to tell me more, as the, it's sort of like a disinfectant. It kills bugs and things in the water. Tom, not in the water, but in the loft. So the answer is I don't have it. I have heard about it. If you want me to do a research on it, email Foyth, and they'll forward the email address and include your email address or phone number, and I'll see what I can find on it.
Okay.
Did you know Tom was Kim's significant other's name?
I did know that.
Yeah. Just in case Kim's watching.
She is.
He's my go-to mechanic. Whenever I call Tom at his home, he starts out, okay, what did you break now? Because when it comes to mechanical things, I'm not real good.
Not at all. Okay. So back to roofs, talking about
Oh, yeah, we were talking about gutters, and now, well, you wouldn't think we would want to talk about a leaking roof in a pigeon coop and how it affects their health. But you've heard me for years talk about the importance of ventilation, which I did a minute or two ago. Ventilation sure is good for clearing the air, but it also keeps your loft dry. There's nothing worse in a pigeon coop that I can think of is worse than a wet floor. It just plain creates disease. And if it's summertime, a wet floor creates bacteria and bugs, and you're just asking for trouble. So make sure that your loft is dry. How much space do you need a pigeon? Should I answer that one, or do you want to? Well, why don't you read it so I can answer it?
let me do my job.
See what happens when I get a beer in me.
I know.
Okay.
How much space do you need per pigeon? You want me to answer that, or
yes,
do you want to
you
answer
could answer it. You know the answer.
You need 3 square feet per pigeon, correct?
3 feet up, 3 foot left to right, 3 foot back. That's a square.
Per pigeon.
Yep. That's roughly how you can figure out how much space you need.
Yep.
And it's not an unusual question.
No, it's not. Not at all.
Okay, keep your loft dry.
Overhang.
Yes. Why would you want an overhang?
Why would you?
I didn't. I wrote it down, but I didn't give the answer. Yeah. Number one, you don't need an overhang. No, it's certainly nice if you're walking to your loft and it's a rainy day and the overhang extends over your door. But on the other hand, a good place to have a overhang is over the aviary itself. And that just protects the birds, especially if you have a wood floor on your aviary. So it's a nice idea to have that overhang. Also, they come out to get the air, but sometimes on a hot day, it just keeps the landing board a little bit cooler. But the more important thing is that the overhang itself gives it some shade. Go ahead. What's next?
The exterior 4 walls.
Exterior.
Exterior.
Okay.
Outside.
Okay, what would you suggest?
Oh,
the roof. I'm sorry, the overhang you use this word. It makes the loft.
No, we're talking about the exterior 4 walls. Make it aesthetic.
I like that word.
And why do we want to make it aesthetic?
Because
you
in aesthetic, she uses those words I don't understand, but we want it to look nice. Basically, you want to look nice. If you can duplicate the color of your house, that's always a good idea because they match. You don't want your neighbors to consider what you have as similar to a chicken coop, where it's not very nice looking. You want to please your neighbors as much as you possibly can, so make it aesthetically acceptable.
We don't all have nice neighbors, do we?
Let's go on. Because they might know where I live, and I don't want to talk about the neighbors.
I didn't say you. I just said in general. We
You
don't
generally-
all have nice
I have
neighbors.
great neighbors,
You do.
except for one who lives right next to me. Okay, we've done that. We've done that. Oh, interior walls.
Hold on.
Yes.
The landing platform on
Mhm.
outside. We didn't talk about that.
Well, why don't we?
Why don't we? It should extend 24 inches out from
Yeah.
the wall,
Yeah.
right? And it's best to use wire flooring. Why is that?
Well, when we say extend 2 feet from the wall, you're going to go 24 inches, and that's the platform. And then
That's it.
I think you should make it the length of your loft. And if your loft, for instance, is only 8 feet or 10 feet, that's not a big area, so you're going to make it 10 feet on your landing board. But if you have a large loft, 20 feet, 25 feet, I still think you should make it all one length, not 3 pieces. It just makes it look better and easier to take care of. Now, on the landing board itself, I've used wood in the past. It's a pain because it's just another area to clean. Plus, even if you're using exterior plywood or regular interior plywood, eventually the plywood breaks down. So, also, it's another area for you having to scrape on some sort of a regular basis. All of my um, landing boards were covered in wire, 1x2 or 1x1 wire. You can buy it by the roll anywhere. In some places, you can buy it in whatever length you want. That allows for the droppings to fall to the ground, less area for you to clean. I had my loft with those wire covering over the landing board and never ever shovel the poop from underneath. It just breaks down so quick. Grass doesn't grow under it because of the strength of the dropping, but it never smells. It doesn't collect. It breaks down very, very quickly. So 1x1 or 1x2 wire covering your platform.
Or if you put the bath out there, the bath pan,
Great point.
they take a bath.
Yeah, because if you put your bath pans inside, and we'll be talking about the floor in a little bit, but when you're talking about bath pans, if you put it out there in the aviary, then they are taking the bath and the water's going straight down. Nothing else to clean.
Yep.
Okay, I'm checking these things on.
Okay.
Look at this. This is all our subject. We'll never get through it. This is going to be a two. This is going to be a two-parter. And please, if you have a question about your loft, why not call us? If you have a situation, describe it to us. If I can make a suggestion, I will. Or perhaps you found something that really works well for you. Send us, what do you call it? Send us a message?
What?
How do they send us a message?
What, on here?
Yeah.
They know how.
Okay. I was hoping you didn't like me. So, anyway.
We ain't gonna go there.
Okay. All right.
Aviary would be
That's
next.
exterior walls. We talked about cutting that strip. And we talked about making it look nice.
Yep. The landing platform.
Yep.
Now the aviary that goes on top.
What a heck of an idea. Where did you learn all of this stuff? It's not written on here, is it?
Nope.
No, it's all in your head. All right. Aviary, there's two ways, in my opinion, you should cover your area. I had, let's say my loft was 21 feet long. So I might have had 3 7-foot aviaries. Now, the landing platform is all one length, but the aviaries are, in my particular circumstances, yours could be 2 sections. I had them made of, take a 2x4 and split it right down the middle when it's laying on its side, and you got roughly a 1x1. I made mine with 1x1 wood because of the weight. Then I covered them with the same wire I used on the landing platform, 1x1 or 1x2. And the platforms were all removable. So you've got a side, you've got a front, and you've got a top. You don't need a bottom because it's sitting on the platform. You don't need a back because it's up against the loft itself. So the aviaries should be lightweight, and you can remove them. Put them on the ground when you want the birds to go out, fly. We'll put them back so they can still go out and enjoy the sun, but they can't fly around. So in talking about aviaries, you want them to be lightweight. I've seen some aviaries, which seemed like a good idea to me. Once again, they're removable, but they can go actually higher. They come down at an angle, hard to describe. So you've got your side, they come down with an angle. And what they do is they put hinges and they put a clasp. And when they push it up, they have little hooks. They hook to the outside wall and hold it up when they want to, if I'm explaining it correctly, when they want it so the birds can get out but not fly, they drop it back down. My other idea was to put it on the ground. In this particular case, you can actually use hinges and put it up and hook it in place.
So you talked about the landing board being the whole length of the loft.
Yep.
And if you have several sections in one loft, each section would have their own trap door and their own aviary.
The reason for that is you may want to let one section out, but if you have one long aviary, you're letting them all out at the same time. Okay.
Got it. Okay. So that's the outside of the loft.
We're not even halfway done with the first page, and we're already going past a half an hour. Why don't we do a 2-hour show?
No.
No.
That's a negative.
Okay. That's the military training. That's a negative.
2 months will suffice for 1 hour. Okay, so now we'll talk about floors.
Yep.
So the best possible flooring would be wood.
Or, what are my choices?
Or, yeah.
That's a brain fart.
The floor grills. I couldn't think
That's
of the
right.
name.
Okay. Let's talk about, now we're talking about, of course, the interior of your loft. There are so many choices. If money was no object, or your wife doesn't object, you like that one?
I like that one. That's good.
You can slip it in. The best floor for you would be one where the droppings fall down. When I say fall down, you're going to we sell a wood grill, right? A real heavy.
But you
wood
want
grill.
a solid floor first, right?
Right. Well, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. Need a solid floor, whether it's wood or whatever you're decided to do. In some cases, it's not going to be wood. So let's start with the very basic. You got a wood floor. Basically, it's a plywood floor. So I had that in my loft for years and years, and I cleaned my lofts on a regular basis using many scrapers that we offer. But you want to go a step more than that. You want to maybe clean your lofts less
frequently.
Thank you very much. So we have an assortment of 2 major ones that we call floor grills. Now, in order to install a floor grill, we have the wood ones, which are really big, heavy, and we also have a plastic one, which is very, very strong. You can walk on it. But in order to put the wood or the plastic floor grill down, for the wood, you need to build on the inside of each section a lay a 2x4 this way, not flat, but this way. So you're pulling up the floor grill, the wood floor grill up. So you put the perimeter with 2x4s on their side, and you're going to install your wood floor grills. Now, they're wood, so you can trim them to the width and depth that you need. So you're going to set those on the perimeter with the 2x4s, and 2x4s coming this way. Sounds like it's complicated. It isn't, and you're not going to use a lot of 2x4s because the grills themselves, if I remember, are over 3 feet high. I can't remember. They're in a loft, in a catalog. So when you place them down, you've got a gap from the top of your wood grill to the depth of the 2x4 about that high, and the droppings go through onto the wood floor. The grills, the heavy wood grills, are removable. When you put them down, they stay there. You can drive a car across them. They're so strong. Droppings go through. Now let's say, and remember, I preach it all the time. You have to have a dry loft. If your droppings go through, they are not going to be carry a heavy odor because they're going to dry up in the dry environment. But when you do want to clean underneath, you can pick them up, move them out, clean everything down, and put them right back down. They sit flat. You don't have to screw them to the floor. You don't have to attach them to the floor. You just basically lay them there.
Can you not just lay them on the wood floor?
No.
No.
No, because if you lay them on the wood floor, you've only got the depth of the wood grill itself, and it won't be long before the droppings clog up the grill itself.
Okay.
Now, and if you have questions, and if I'm not making myself clear, folks, just send in the question and say, "Hey, dummy," and if you say, "Hey, dummy," she'll answer. Just think what I would do with a Jack Daniels and Coke.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, the other grill we're going to talk about is another heavy-duty one. It's a gray plastic. One of the nice things about them is they go on the existing floor itself because they're about this high, maybe 3 to 4 inches high. And they actually, I don't know the dimensions, they're not real big. But
19 and a half by 19 and a half.
19 and I was just going to say that
I know
too.
you was.
19 and a half by 19 and a half. They interlock so that when you put them down, they're locked in place. They don't move at all, and the droppings fall through. When you want to remove them and clean whatever's underneath, you can do that. Or if your floor is wire, which in some cases people put wire in. If it's supported properly, you can put the gray over it too. But anyway, the droppings drop down, they're interlocked. We want to remove them, they come right out. You don't have to have any 2x4s or anything. Did I do okay with that one?
You did great.
Okay, let me check this.
And as Jerry said when we started talking about floors, you don't have to put any of this on your floor. If you just want the wood floor and scrape the floor to clean it, that's fine.
Yeah, do as I say, don't do as I do. Because we talk about all of these because everybody has different ideas and preferences. I personally always had a wood floor, but I was conscientious enough to keep that floor as clean as I possibly could.
Not always, though. Now you use something else. What do you use?
Floor covering. I don't now because I don't have lofts.
Oh, well, right.
But I did, yes. I used the floor covering which we offer for sale. Okay.
We're going to talk about now.
Where's it here?
We're down here. Floor covering.
But don't we have to talk? Oh, we did that. We did that. Damn, we're already there.
We're already
I forgot
there.
to check it out. To check it off.
We're down
All
here.
right.
Floor covering.
Okay. We talked about the floors, and let's assume you've got a solid wood floor. And what I did was use our floor covering. It comes from overseas, from natural in Belgium.
Sorry.
It's a dry clay. Pardon?
I said sorry. I keep.
No, you have to get in a word with me. It's a dry ground up clay with an additive which helps control coccidiosis. So it's a good product. Comes in 44-pound bags.
44 pounds.
44-pound bags, and if you look in our catalog, and it tells you how many square feet. So you can use that. But let's go back to the grills. If you have the grill and underneath is a wood floor, you can put the floor covering underneath that, and it makes the droppings dry up even quicker and reduces odor.
I don't remember if you mentioned, but they that have the anti-coccidiosis in it. I'm sorry. She don't know.
Shows how much attention. You don't know either. There's two of us. I'm talking. I just talked about that. And you're
said
asking,
if you didn't. I didn't.
Geez.
Next. What's the next? If you don't want to do any of those, what else could you possibly use on the floor?
Okay, you could use,
Sand.
I can tell you what not to use for sure.
You can use sand.
I know, but don't, why don't you just speak up?
No, go ahead.
You don't want to be known as a nerd when it comes to pigeons, right?
I don't care what I'm known as.
But I don't use hay. Okay. That's the one thing. Don't use hay and don't use plain old dirt. So if you got a wood floor, and you want to have to go that extra mile, so to speak, put the floor covering down. And if you put floor covering down and make it 3 or 4 inches deep, you don't have to clean your lofts, but maybe once or twice a year, depending on how many birds in that particular section.
Mhm.
So you put the floor covering down. It once again, we'll go back to it. It keeps the floor dry, keeps the environment dry, and it absorbs moisture too, and then dries out very, very quickly.
Now, with that, I will say, if you have sick birds,
Mm-hmm.
you'll want to put them somewhere else so you can see what their droppings look like.
Yeah. Well, I never
And
thought of that.
I
That's
know,
true.
I just thought of it. So, because then the floor covering, you're not going to be able to tell because it absorbs the moisture.
And the first
Question we asked.
thing you notice in a bird that's getting sick, wet, different colored
Droppings.
droppings.
Yeah.
There's Joshua Morris. I haven't heard from him in a long time. We're going to go to another thing?
No, let's finish flooring real quick. Then
Okay,
we'll go to
Joshua, you hold on for just a minute. We'll answer your question. Okay.
Sand. We didn't talk about sand.
Okay. We eliminated straw. We talked
Mhm.
about the best thing you could possibly do. Second best thing would be beach sand.
Not beach.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, beach sand.
Beach sand. Don't interrupt me.
Sorry.
Anyway, see, if we weren't on the air, she'd be telling me where I can go. She's
No.
on the air and she has to be nice about it.
Oh,
Beach sand.
nice.
And I tell you, beach sand, you can buy it at any of the large chain stores. It's been treated so that we know children are going to be playing in the beach sand. So there's nothing harmful in that beach sand. It's the safest thing you can use. And it keeps everything dry. Keep going back to that. People have used cat litter, and I strongly advise you don't. Sure, it's very absorbent and it draws in the moisture, but we don't know what else is in that. We know it's certainly not edible. If pigeons pick at floor covering, it's not going to harm them. We don't know if they're going to be pecking at that cat litter. Is that what I said? Cat
Yes.
litter. There's another one I was trying to think of.
Oil dry.
Yeah, oil dry that people use in a garage. That's not a good one. It certainly does absorb oil, but we don't know what else is in it. So be careful of what you do with that. So we talked about the floor covering. We talked about not using hay. We talked about not using the oil dry. So what's another one that you can use? No reason why you can't use wood shavings. I don't suggest cedar shaving. I do suggest if you're going to use shavings, good pine shavings. I don't include recommending the cedar because cedar, it puts off a strong odor. If you were to put a bird in a box, say a wooden box, and put in 3 or 4 inches of cedar, it could kill the bird because they're breathing that strong cedar into their system, and it's not made to be breathed in. And it holds. Like if you put in what do they call that? When the girls are going to get married, that hope chest. Yeah, if you have a big chest and it's cedar and it keeps closed, when you open it up, that smell just comes right out at you. You don't want your pigeons to be breathing. Not a good idea to put it necessarily in your carrying basket, cedar. I did use it recently in my 8-bird compartment unit, but they're outside, so the cedar shaving smell isn't strong. What are you looking for?
Just looking.
Just looking. Okay.
Are we done with floors? Yeah. Okay. We'll go to Joshua. Hi, Joshua. Joshua asks, is the floor covering the same as Belgian white? No, it is not.
Why?
Because floor cover.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You know.
You do a better job at explaining, Bill.
Belgian white is a
Cleaner.
powder,
Powder.
a white powder.
Just makes the floor.
Right. And floor
White
covering
smell.
is ground up clay.
Mm-hmm.
So the consistency is different, and they have two different um, benefits. The benefit of the Belgian white is when your floor is clean, after you've cleaned it, you sprinkle Belgian white all over the floor, and they call it Belgian white because it makes, if you use it on a regular basis, your floor becomes white, and it helps keep it dry. It doesn't have anything anticoccidiosis in it, and it's not a floor covering per se. So if you use just a wood floor, you scrape it and spread out the Belgian white, where the floor covering is something that you cover the floor with 2 or 3 inches high.
See how good you explained it?
Well, you could have done it. You know it. It's just that you're not a big bullshitter like I am.
Right.
Come up with that.
You like to talk.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I must
Okay.
admit. I think we ought to. We've only got like 5 or 6 more minutes. You want to save this for?
No, we'll
No?
finish
Okay.
it. I
Okay.
think we can finish it.
Okay.
Interior walls.
Okay. Let's assume you built your loft and you got exposed 2x4s inside. Should I cover them or should I not cover them? Certainly, it's going to be your decision. But common sense says cover them with a plywood or even drywall, assuming your studs inside your loft are 16 inches on center, because drywall is made 3 times 16 is 48. So a width of a piece of drywall or a piece of plywood is 48 inches. So there's less waste there. Or if you're building a loft, in today's world, it probably costs a lot more because lumber is so expensive. But you could put your wall studs 12 inches on center instead of 16. The advantage of that is when you are installing your perches, the perches are 12 inches. You can put your perches 12 inches apart. If you put up 16 inches stud, 16 inch wide. Say that for me.
16 inches wide.
Oh, 16 inches apart. I'm sorry.
Apart.
Your studs are 16 inches separated. If you have something like drywall on the lofts, when you try to screw your perches into the wall, we always suggest 12 inches on center for your perches. So that, because if you're 16, you're going to have a perch here. The next perch is not going to hit a stud or anything. It's going to hit open area behind the wood. So 12 inches if you can't. If you want to put the 16 inches, that's fine too. But what you're going to need is to mark them, maybe get a stud finder so you know where to put your drywall, your perches. Or if you put in 1/2 to 3/4 inch plywood, that's going to hold the screw. But if you screw through drywall, over time as you're scraping the perches, the screws are going to come loose.
So we'll go straight to perches since you're talking about perches.
Was I not supposed to?
Oh yeah, that's fine. But we skipped here, so we'll just talk about perches.
What's
we'll
new?
go back to
What's
them.
new?
Yeah.
I'm reading my little hints. Oh, if you're going to, it's common sense says this. Remember, we talked about cutting a 5 or 6 inch area from the floor up to let some air in. So if you're going to do your drywall or plywood on your walls, don't cover the vents. Common sense says that, but
Well, I mean,
it's better to say it than
we'll
not.
leave it at that.
Okay. No, I'm not going to ask you what you would have said. Oh, I know something. People do ask me a lot if they live in a cold climate. Well, in an interest. Oh, I thought that said Canada. It says Carbola. If you want to insulate the interior walls, certainly that's the time to do it. In cold areas, it does help. I think it's a waste of money if you do that, but some people do, especially where you got the vents and the bottom piece cut out, cold air is going to come in. And a lot of people know your pigeons are the healthiest in the wintertime. You don't need to put a heater in. I don't want to go off on that tangent, though. See, back in the 60s, let's see, I graduated in 59. So in 1960, I was probably 19 years old. And Phil, I do remember Carbola.
We'll come back to Phil in a minute. Let's finish purchase.
Phil, she says, ignore you for a couple of minutes. You hold on.
Let's finish purchase.
Okay. My favorite perch. Want to talk about that? We have a big array of perches, each serving a different reason or meeting a different demand. Some people like this and some people like that. Perches need to be cleaned on a regular basis. And when I had literally 500 or 600 pigeons, it was a lot of cleaning to do. So I finally settled on two perches that I like the best. One is called the
Space
Saver perch. I won't tell the story about that, but the Space Saver perches, only about 3/4 of an inch wide. Pigeons actually perch on them. They're not V-shaped or anything. And that reduced my cleaning to almost nothing when it came to perch, because the pigeon is perching on it, and if it's only this wide, the droppings go to the floor, not to the perch. So I like them. I'm sorry for the interruption, right? We had
technical difficulties
again. And it's not us, we apologize for that. It's the program. We were talking about the perch. The one that I really like is one that clips on and clips off. And the reason that's a benefit or an advantage to you is, let's say you've got 30 perches up there and you reduce your flock to 15 birds. You've got 15 extra perches. What do you need them for? And maybe more cleaning. So always have a few more perches than number of birds. The other perch that was the block perch, what I was getting at is the way it works is that you put the bracket on the wall, skirt on the wall, and then you clip it on. If you want to reduce the number of perches, you lift it up and it comes right off, no nail, no nothing, and put it away. And then if the number of birds goes back up again, you can put them right back on again.
Good.
$3.59.
And we're not
Are we allowed to go a minute over?
We can go a few minutes over.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll go to Phil's question. We're done with perches, right?
Okay. Oh, no.
No?
Put your perches, did I ever mention?
No, you
If
didn't.
you're going to install your perches, when possible, put them all on the same wall. I preached this before. I had so many pigeons, I wanted to find ways to make it easier to clean. By putting all your perches on the same wall, the droppings fall to the same area under those perches. It's so much easier to collect the droppings instead of having to clean a larger area.
That's not the right one. We'll go back. Hi, Phil. Phil says, back in the late 60s, we used to use Carbola, which is now banned, I think, on the inside walls for insect control and brighten the inside, like a whitewash with benefits. Any substitute product these days?
Not that I know of. You can still buy a powdered white mix up yourself. There's nothing like Carbola. But what you can do is in your walls, before you put the walls up, you could use something called diatomaceous earth. We've all heard about it. And it's very, very popular. It's harmless to the pigeons, but you can put it on the inside of the wall, not fill it up, just 2 or 3 inches of diatomaceous earth. If there's any bugs inside the wall, and a lot of times where your mites come through, it's going to kill them. The way it works is not a poison. It actually, if you looked under a microscope and multiplied it by 10 in size, it looks something um, like a bottle of needles. It looks sharp, and it is, but it's so minute, it doesn't hurt birds, but bugs that insects get it on their skin. And what it does is eventually cut through their skin and they die from the diatomaceous earth. You can also, if you want, spray or put diatomaceous earth on the floor mixed in with your floor covering. It will serve another purpose because it's safe. But didn't think I'd pull that one out of my
I didn't.
mouth.
Good job, though. Good job. We're gonna finish or carry on to the following?
I think we should carry on, don't you? We don't have a lot.
We don't.
We'll talk fast.
Yeah.
All right, ceiling. Is that next?
Yes.
Okay.
Ceiling.
Number one, it's my opinion that unless you're very, very tall, your ceiling should be dropped to about 7 feet high from floor to the ceiling itself. And the ceiling can just be wire, and that's what I used. And I even used chicken wire on my ceiling. Now above it, you have your roof and your regular ceiling area, but it's open rafter, which means you're looking underneath, you're seeing this. I put wire straight across, chicken wire, so that it didn't disrupt the use of your turbine vents or whatever else you had for ventilation. I keep it down to 7 feet. By the way, I ran some 2x4s so I could staple the wire to the 2x4s. Is the advantage of that is, number one, you haven't hindered your ventilation, but in catching your pigeons, they learn real quick. If you've got 8-foot ceilings or higher, they'll fly right over you when you're trying to catch them. When it's reduced to 7 feet, makes it a lot easier to catch those pigeons. Mm-hmm. And also, when you do that, you can't get above your above the wire. So before you put your wire up and you've got electricity in your loft, you may want to put in fluorescent lights above the wire. Just something to think about.
Yep. A plug?
Yep. Every one of my lofts had a 2-plug duplex light plug in them, so that if I wanted to run a blower or if I wanted to run a sweeper or anything electric, I like to listen to the radio, whatever, it's always good to have a plug in there. You never know when you're going to need one. So put the plugs in certainly before you close up the walls. We'll run the wire to them. You know something we didn't talk about right there? Oh, we're getting to it.
Well, I was gonna.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna
You were
bring
gonna
that up.
prompt me?
I was gonna prompt you.
Let's assume you didn't put anything in your ceiling. You didn't put any skylights or anything in. Pigeons absolutely need access to sunlight, whether it's outside on their aviary, or I strongly suggest that you put windows in the loft. It doesn't have to be a window as I call it a window, something that opens up and down. If you do that, you're going to have to screen over them, and not the screen that comes with a window. You need something to allow more air in because the screen will be clogged up. But they have to have sunlight. So you can just have maybe put old storm windows up. They're least expensive. They open and close, but you don't have to have them open and close. You've got plenty of ventilation already. The whole idea is to let as much light as you can. I had a guy call me about that, and he described what he did to his loft on the walls and so forth. And I said, where did you put the window? He says, I don't have any windows. I put electric lights in. I said, believe me, you need windows because they need access to sunlight, not just the aviary. So always put windows in where you can and face them to the east. Maybe the back wall to the east because it gets the most sun. Vitamin D is in your sunlight, and they absolutely need vitamin D. You may not believe it, but if you closed up your loft completely and it was in the dark all the time, you would have serious issues over time. There's a system we'll talk about in the future about racing pigeon on the dark system, but that doesn't mean it's dark all the time. Okay, we got that one, that one, that one, that one. We don't have to talk about this one.
Well, we should talk about the walkway though. The
Oh, yeah.
entrance into the loft.
When you enter your loft from the outside, you should never open the door up and there's your pigeon. Because, and it happens, I get calls about it, and it seems like it's always their favorite bird got out and gone. So when you open the loft, you should not be walking into the pigeons. And what Gina was prompting me, that's a TV word, movie word, when they make films, they have teleprompters.
We said we were going to talk fast.
Oh, okay. But they also, the TV guys with the news, they have prompters.
I know.
Okay.
I'm your prompter.
When you walk in, it's a good idea to have, if you don't have a walkway that goes the length of the coop, it's a good idea to have an area that when you walk in, it's a good place to store your feed, whatever that you need to store in your loft, you can do it that way so that you're not walking directly in. If you don't have the ability to put a walkway in, or the room, which is a great idea, or an aisle to look into your pigeons, which we've talked about before, put 2 doors in your loft. One opens out.
The outside door opens
Yeah,
out.
it opens out just like most doors do. And then you'll have another door. You can make that with, I made mine with 2x4s, and I made a door with a cross and covered it with screen, or wire, I should say. So when you open a door, you're looking at another door. The outside door has a door closer, much like a storm door. So when you walk in, that door is closing behind you, and the second door is you're walking into the pigeon.
Push it open.
Right, it pushes open so that you've reduced the possibility of losing a very, very valuable bird. I think I talked more today.
Then I don't think so.
No. Veronica making eyes over there. Give me a subject and I can talk for an hour, right?
Yes, you can.
Anything else we should talk about?
18.
So we are doing our show in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So we're gone. If you're just tuning in, we're going back to 2 show a day. 2 show
Every 2
per
weeks.
month. Yeah, every 2 weeks. So our next show would be 2 weeks from today.
June 18th.
June 18th. Well, you just pulled that right out of your
I did.
hat. No, which reminds me, nobody noticed I don't
No
have a
hat
hat on.
today. But you have your new shirt on.
I do. I had begged for it. Everybody had
Or not.
a new shirt on except me. We ought to sell these. Can we sell these and put your name on?
So anyways.
Oh, just an idea. Oh, we didn't talk much about a book. Best book in the world for building lofts is this one. We're going to show some pictures. Maybe it's too late now. Maybe we can do it at a later time. But if you want a great book on lofts, pictures of all kinds of lofts, how to build them, on and on and on. Hundreds of pictures of pigeon lofts. And it was written by a very well-known author. We can't mention his name because we don't want to get into problems where
Yeah.
he wrote the book.
But he will autograph it for you.
Yeah,
He
I
can
did one today.
autograph it. Yes, you did. So if you have any questions on the show, on anything, if there's anything you want us to do a future show on, just reach out to myself or Jerry. We'll be more than happy to do that for you.
I give you my home phone number because I don't come in as regular as I used to. But if you need the questions answered, then call the. You'll be amazed. Call the store; they can answer most questions. I'd say 90% of the information you need, they can supply to you. We've been doing it for so long. I told Gina earlier in the day, I said, did you ever imagine you would know more about pigeons than 95% of the public in the United States, maybe 98% of the people in the United States? They know their stuff. My home phone number is 724-843-6999. 6889. You cannot leave a message. So I have caller ID. So if you call and it answers and get a lot of static or whatever, just hang it up. Don't have to call me 2 or 3 times. When I get home, I check all my calls. I've had people call me as many as 16 or 17 times in a row. All need one call. I will definitely call you back. 724-843-6889. Be glad to answer any questions
That's
for you.
the store number.
My home phone number? Well, if you call the store, they'll just tell you to call
Okay.
me. And if you call me, my number is 724-359-5355. 724-359-5355.
And Joshua, if you're talking about the table of contents in this book, it's on page 2. If it's his other book, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we have another very
No, I'm
inexpensive book.
talking about your other book.
Oh,
But
okay.
I would imagine it was this book. Anything else?
So long for a while.
So
The store to be like me. Everybody knows here at the store, when I say goodbye, they just wait for me to come back. I
3
always,
more times.
I always come back 2 or 3 times for things that I forgot or things I wanted to say. So, see you later.
So see you June 18th. Thank you for tuning in.